Hey, I'm with Tartan, the newspaper. Can I take just a second of your time?
Sure.
So, what year are you?
I'm a junior.
Okay, cool. What's been your favorite change on campus this year?
Well, I'm a transfer student, so I don't really have too much to compare it to from like last year or anything like that.
Okay, where'd you transfer from?
I went to New River Community College, just down the road.
All right. Since you're new here, I guess what's your favorite part about Radford?
The professors have been really nice. I don't have any complaints about them really. I mean, I grew up around here. I've lived here for my whole life, basically. So, um, it's good getting to know another part of campus. I guess another part of the city.
Okay, so I guess you did grow up around here. House is close to here.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes down the road that way. So down Main Street.
All right, cool. What's what do you miss most about not being at home?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things I miss. I think so.
Like what?
Well, I mean, it's probably easier if I describe it to you. So you hear older people saying, "Oh, they're young and dumb and in love," and you say that you love her, but you know in your heart with a feeling that you've never quite felt before that you do love her. And when she goes away or you go away, it hurts so much. And the hurt comes in waves. Some days, most of the days, you're treading water. You're staying above the surface. But sometimes, mostly on the weekends or in the evenings, you start to drown. You try everything to stop thinking about her every waking moment. Of course, you love thinking about her, but sometimes you're reminded of how far apart you are. You can't bear to have the thought linger. So do you try keeping your day busy so you don't have a moment to think about her? You climb, you climb the wall over and over and over again until your hands are chalky and cracked and bleeding. But then when your hands sting and ache and hurt, you're just reminded that she's not there to hold them for you. So you watch movies. So many movies. Sometimes it works if the movie's dumb enough. But if you love movies, which you do, how can you watch something you love without thinking about who you love? Eventually, you find out it's impossible to distract yourself from her. And besides, it's never all that painful. After all, at least you have someone to distract yourself with. Some people don't have that. But no matter how much you remind yourself to be grateful, it's still hard. It's so hard. Some nights are worse than others. You could swear you saw her in that crowd, or through that window, or sitting on that bench. Maybe you're crazy. After all, you're crazy about her, so general insanity isn't that far off. And you hate to keep complaining, but you're so tired. So tired of looking at her through a phone screen and hearing her voice through a tiny speaker. You listen to the boss when you miss holding her. You listen to the Beatles when you miss her smile. And you listen to Dylan when you miss her conversation. But then you're tired of hearing her in every beautiful song you listen to, so much that you don't want to listen to music again until you're with her. You're tired of walking around on a beautiful evening with a pink and orange sunset and not being able to share it with her. You're tired of picking through Pinterest, finding these little pictures that remind you of her one way or another, like this house that you could totally live in together, or these sick-ass dogs, or this shot from the 1957 Soviet film The Cranes Are Flying. No matter how many pictures you can find, no matter how many funny dogs or cute houses or sad song lyrics you can hoard, she doesn't get any closer. You just miss her more. So, yeah, that's basically it.
Wait, can you say that again?
I just miss my bed. I miss sleeping at home in my own bed.
Yeah, we get that answer all the time. What's your name again? Can you spell it for me?
It's Owen Saunders, OwenSaunders.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Owen. Will with the tartan.
Nice to meet you. Thanks.
We'd like to offer you the position.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect to hear back so soon.
Yeah, we don't like to keep our applicants in the dark for too long.
Well, thank you. Am I able to take a few days to think about it?
Of course, you can take a few days, but we'd like to hear back by Monday.
Okay. And just to clarify, over the summer, the position is, I don't have any breaks, right? It's just the weekends.
Yeah, so this is basically a 9 to 5, and since it's for the entire duration of the summer, there are no weeks off, just the weekends.
Okay.
You'll fly out once the semester ends, and once the new one starts, you'll fly back.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's an honor, so
Well, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email.
I will. Thank you.
Congratulations. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks. I got the job. I know I would be crazy not to take it, but I think I'd also be crazy to accept. 1 week is all I have to decide, so I'm going to write everything down, weigh my options, pros and cons, and anything else that comes to mind. I think I was trained to hate art. Not art in general, but the kind of art that's physical, like paintings and sculptures, especially what people call modern art. I'd hear people say all the time, "Oh, anyone can do that. Looks like my kindergartner drew that." And I would laugh along and say, yeah, it does. But it took me a long time to realize that it's not about the art itself. It's not about the painting that's actually hanging on the wall. It's about the driving force behind it. It's about the motivation, the inspiration, the catharsis. I think people are quick to brush it aside because it doesn't jump out at you. It doesn't immediately satisfy that craving for entertainment that seems to affect us all. It takes time. It takes patience. Two things that aren't easy. I had a dream last night. I know I was looking for something. I was looking for a long time. And then I think I found it. But I don't remember what it was. I visited her grandma today. I needed advice. Mic test, mic test. So I just kind of wanted to know a little bit more about your husband and kind of how that was when he was overseas and you all were living, I guess, where in Texas and other places?
California, Texas,
Yes, ma'am.
Virginia. I mean, we lived all over the United States, just in the southern part particularly, because Marine bases are in places where you can fly almost all year round.
And so where was he stationed when he was like not with you all? Like what parts of the
Well,
world?
he spent a year in Iwakuni, Japan, and then he spent 2 tours in Vietnam. And the last tour he spent was in Thailand, where he was responsible for building a new base in the jungle, a new air base. And he did it. I don't know quite how, because he really never talked about it very much. But they put a whole new base in the jungle, and he was the one that was in charge of getting all the equipment and getting all the buildings up and all the special hangars that they put the airplanes in to protect them from shelling.
Okay. Wow.
He was a busy man, and he received the Legion of Honor, which is I didn't realize how high a designation it was, but for the job he did, putting that base together.
Wow. That is, yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, he was stationed at the Rose Garden for a while. You remember that one from the song, Tammy Wynette's song?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
Well, they always call it the Rose Garden.
That's funny.
We spent a year in California, just the children and me. And then we came back here for one of the Vietnam years. And then in between the long tours, there'd be 6-month trips or 3-month trips, different places, doing a lot of cross-training with other countries.
Okay.
The best country was the Canadians because they came to visit when we were in Montgomery, Alabama. We lived there for a year. What a crazy bunch of people. We had the best time with them. And the year they came was the year they were transitioning from one uniform to another. And being very thrifty, they were all just wearing the old uniforms they had until they weren't appropriate to be worn. And I got up one morning so that I could take the car and ride and pick them up at their barracks. And I said to them, each one of you has on something different. Wear your uniform. And one of them said, first one up's best dressed. They were so crazy and so much fun. Well, they had their, they were little, they were children, but later on they all, they had their own lives. They went to school, they came home, they did their homework. He wasn't there. However, my mother said one time, he has a really strong connection with those children because I think with them he was there most of the time.
Okay.
They loved him dearly, but they didn't mess with him because he was a bit of a disciplinarian.
And then how was it for you, kind of that long distance, that thing?
Too long, way too long. We all missed him. I wrote him every day, and he wrote quite frequently, but certainly not every day.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we lived a couple of places in California, which at that time, California was just like paradise. The weather was fantastic, and you had 2 seasons, warm and fog. And the fog would get so thick that we were near San Diego, and then we were in Chula Vista, which is even further south than San Diego. And it was a learning experience because there's so much Spanish culture in California that was just totally unfamiliar. So we learned it, and it was a good experience, and it was a really good time to be in California because now California is a total wreck.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get advice from other people on how to deal with the long distance part of that or anything like that, or?
No, you just go day by day.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept a calendar on the wall. Every year, but at least we would have spent a year in Harrisburg when he was overseas. And we just marked off the days on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, which didn't make it any shorter. You'd look at that calendar and you think, wow, a lot more to go. He absolutely, totally loved flying.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing in the world that he would rather do than fly.
Mm.
And I'd say 95% of the people he flew with, the other pilots in the squadrons, felt the same way. They all loved it. And if you get a group of pilots together, they all talk with their hands. Because you'll see a group of men standing around going like this, and this way, and that means they're talking about airplanes. The way it was set up, when he was in college, he went in the summers to a Marine camp at Camp Lejeune and did a lot of basic training there. And then flying, he went to flight school right after we got married. And that meant living in Pensacola for a while, then moving to Corpus Christi for a while in order to get him all through all the flight training. But he was just a totally happy man in an airplane. That's all there was to it. And all his friends were the same way.
Mm-hmm. Where did you all get married?
This is so romantic. The Naval Mine Depot it's in Virginia. It's along the coast. And it was very simple, very quick, because he had to go somewhere. He was already in the Marine Corps then. As soon as he graduated, he became a junior officer in the Marine Corps.
How much time was in between him having to be stationed somewhere and then
Well, he was flying. He was learning how to fly, and we went to Pensacola, and our apartment was the restaurant area of a former motel. So we had a big living room and no bedroom, just a sort of blocked off space for a bedroom. And the worst kitchen you could ever imagine, with a great big, I mean huge restaurant stove, enormous. And I didn't know how to cook. And I didn't know where to put the water in the percolator. I didn't know any of that. And I was stuck with that double oven, huge iron monster stove. And since it was a restaurant kitchen, it was full of roaches. It was awful, just awful. And when you walked in there at night, you could hear them running when you turned the light on. It was awful. And when we had company, Rodney had to cook because I couldn't. So I sat in the living room with company, and he cooked dinner. And he cooked their entire life together.
And how long were you two like in that apartment, and then when did
Well, that was probably about 6 months there. And then we moved to Corpus Christi for another phase of training. And then after that, we went back to Cherry Point in North Carolina. And he joined a squadron. And that was the beginning of his real Marine Corps career.
And then when did he retire from the Corps?
1975,
Okay.
after 22 years.
Wow. So then he came back, and then where did you all live then?
Well, when he came back, he went to headquarters Marine Corps in Washington. So we lived in Northern Virginia for about a year or so. And then he retired, and we went back to Paris.
Okay.
And took our children and let them get to know their relatives. And that was a smart decision on our part because they just thrived here. We never had any money. We were probably the most normal people on earth. We just didn't have any money. We were broke all the time. But we made it.
Yes, ma'am. What did you do, like I guess, in that time when you got married and kind of in that younger stage? Like, what did you do for work?
I didn't work because,
Okay.
one, I didn't drive at that time. And two, we moved so often you couldn't keep a job because you were just maybe 6 months and then you were somewhere else. But after we lived on military bases and after I learned how to drive, I did a lot of volunteer work with, it's an in-service charitable organization called Navy Relief. And we made loans to poor enlisted people who just never had any money. You didn't become wealthy in the Marine Corps, and when you were a private or a corporal or something, and your income was miserably low, you ran out of money constantly. And invariably, as soon as a private or a corporal would get married, they'd have a baby, and then they couldn't afford this or that. So we interviewed them, we made loans to them, we made extra loans if they had a family emergency. But I worked with Navy Relief every base that we went to.
And how did you two end up meeting? How did
in
that?
college.
Okay. So do you remember like specifically kind of how that started?
Sort of, but not a lot of detail. But he was a junior at William & Mary when I arrived as a freshman. And about the middle of the year, she was the only person I dated after that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 19. No, I was 18. And he was in his 20s. And, that was it. He was the only one I ever gave a hoot about.
I listened to the radio today. I haven't done that since I was a little kid.
And that was Dumpster Fire with their hit new single, We Hate Brenda. We're at the top of the hour now, folks, which means I've got a few minutes to talk to you. I've had this story on my mind for a while now. It's something I heard back in college, but I was just reminded of it the other day. So I thought you folks might like to hear it, get a little drama in your life going on. So, there's this play being put on. Just a simple little thing. Just two actors, they're doing most of the stuff themselves, directing themselves, moving some stuff around, getting costumes. They rehearse for a few weeks. They get their lines down. You know, they got their costume rehearsal. They've got their monologues down. So their deliveries are just perfect. They know where to go. They know what to say. They know how to say it. They're ready for opening day. And when that rolls around, everything's going perfect. They're doing great. They're hitting their marks. They're screaming at each other. They're hanging up the phone. Everything the play requires of them. But until the final scene rolls around, you know, the real climax. The lead actress, she gets up right there, center stage. Spotlight shines on her. She looks out at the crowd. She's got a big final line to deliver, a big impact, a big punch. But she doesn't remember it. So she walks off. But the crowd, they think it's part of the show. They get up. They're going wild. They're applauding. And that's it. That's the story, folks. I don't really know what it means. It's kind of a weird thing. Maybe forget all about it. Anyway, we're at the top of the hour, like I said, so we've got some...
I smoked today. I hated it. I don't know why I did it. My mouth is not the right place for a cigarette. It's just out of place. I feel out of place too, but nothing in me changes when I take the cigarette out. I remember the end of my dream now.